Hi guys. I hope you're all doing all right. Becca here. Obviously, ID isn't running at the moment, and it's a sad time due to COVID-19 and the UK being on lockdown. And I miss you guys. All of us leaders miss you guys. I hope you're all doing all right. School from home sounds awkward and odd. And not being able to go out and meet with your friends is hard, and I'm sure you guys are all going through it at the moment. And I'm sorry. I hope you're all keeping safe. I hope you're all well. And us ID team are always here for you. We're always happy to help. We're always happy to talk. There's an Instagram page if you don't follow it already, King's Youth EB. It's where we post updates about what theme the week is, or whether it's not running, like it's not been obviously. So feel free to DM them and someone will get back to you, I'm sure. So I hope you're all okay. Obviously we're continuing with the sort of talk theme that we do every week, and at the moment it's been miracle stories. So a lot of leaders have been sharing personal stories of healing and testimony and other amazing things that have happened in their lives that God has basically taken precedent over, and relieved them of certain situations and healed them of certain diseases or pains or conditions and things like that. And we've heard those amazing stories. And this week it's my turn. So without further ado, it was when I was about your age actually, and I noticed this lump in my wrist, and it like changed size. It got quite large. It was quite small. Sometimes it disappeared and I just forgot it was there. And it got quite painful occasionally as well. So I basically went to the doctor about this lump in my wrist, and he told me it was this thing called a ganglion cyst, and I got the NHS website up here so I could read to you the actual description of what it was and trying to put it in my own words. So a ganglion cyst is a fluid-filled swelling that usually develops near a joint or tendon. The cyst can range from the size of a pea to the size of a golf ball. So that's a pretty good explanation of what it is. It's basically like a ball of gas in between the joint in my wrist that increases and reduces in size depending on like the activity of my wrist. So being in school at the time, as you can imagine, there was a lot of like writing and homework and essays that I had to do, and so it would inflame and be quite painful quite often. And my doctor sort of gave me a cast for it. There's like Velcro casts that you can get when you like sprain your wrist but don't break it. I don't know if any of you have ever had those. They're really uncomfortable, and if you wear them for a long time they stink really bad as well, and washing them doesn't help. Anyway, I digress. So I had one of those for a few years, and it kind of worked, but I had to put a lot of work into writing and move my whole arm rather than just my wrist. So it was quite a lot of work, but I dealt with it, I guess. And then it sort of came up to year 10, year 11 for me, and that's obviously exam season, sitting down at desks and writing huge essays, and I was a history student as well, and you've got English coursework and English exams, and it's just a lot of writing. So personally I was quite worried, because it hurt quite bad and it was quite painful. So I spoke to my doctor about it, and there were basically two solutions. You can get an injection of steroids, basically, that reduces it for like an amount of time. It could be years, it could go away forever and you'd never see it again, or it could fight it and come back tomorrow. Or you can have an operation to remove the source of the ball of air. But obviously it's an issue within your joints, so there's always a chance it can come back. There's always a chance that you'll never see it again. So it's a bit of a risk, and personally, I am not a huge fan of needles and would always rather opt for the operation, which sounds crazy, I know, but I just hate needles. So for me, that was a decision I had to make, and I was worried with having an operation before exam season, because then I wouldn't be able to use my arm at all. And how would that work? Would I be able to type? And I was sort of looking into all these solutions and getting quite stressed about it. And it was the summer after year 10, and we were heading into year 11, and it was in August, and we went to the event that we always tell you about, New Day. Some of you have been, some of you haven't. It's a great time. It's a great week away with us, with church family, with your friends, and there are talks and worship, and there's really good food, and it's just a fun week of camping, basically. But the way that the meetings work is they're quite detailed, and they do them like kind of the same every year, but the talks are different. And every year they do sort of a healing tonight, where they ask you, a guy gets on stage and he asks you to put your a hand on a specific part of your body that you'd like healing for, and he prays over the whole room, like hundreds of people in this massive like marquee tent, and you've got people like sprinting up and down the thing trying to see if their legs have been healed, and you've got people being healed of like just massive problems, and dyslexia so bad that people have to wear different glasses, and an inability to raise your hands above here, and people get on stage and they share their stories every year, and it's just incredible to hear the stories of things that people physically couldn't do before, pardon me, and how they've just been healed of those. And I believe, and all of the leaders at ID believe in a God who can do that, basically. And I'm sure all of you have sort of like conditions and things that you're struggling with, and we believe that our God can heal you of those things too. So it was that night at New Day, and to be honest, I'm quite like a to myself person, and I sort of coyly put my hand on my wrist, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how I'm going to get through exams, because I'm either going to have to wear a cast and be in a lot of pain, or I'm going to have to wear a cast and not be able to use my hand at all. And I sort of got thinking to myself, and I was like, there are people here with such bigger problems than me, and why would God heal me of this and not that person of this massive condition that affects their entire life? And I kind of got very conflicted about my own condition, and thinking that it wasn't enough to be complaining about, and that my problems were a walk in the park compared to what other people have. And so I ended up not asking for prayer, and I was scared to think that someone wouldn't think that my cyst was worthy of prayer or good enough to be healed of compared to this person's really bad condition, and I let that get in my head, and so I didn't ask for prayer, basically. And that night ended, and we went to bed, and when you go to New Day, you basically have your own groups, and I was in a group with this lady called Anne, who is lovely, and I love her, and she's amazing. And I was in the group with Mads, as you know, and some of my other family and friends, and we were talking about the night before, and Anne asked if there was anything that we wanted prayer for, and I was like, well, yeah, I was actually too scared to ask for it yesterday, but I have this cyst in my wrist that I'm really stressed about, because it's really painful, basically, and I've got a lot of exams to write. And so we just sat in like a circle of maybe 5 or 6 people, and said a prayer over my wrist, and she asked that God would heal it of all pain and of the cyst entirely, and that I would just be free of this worry and stress and pain altogether. And I can say honestly that I have not seen that cyst since that day. It's not been painful, it's not been inflamed. I just completely forgot about it, to be honest. I think it was a couple of months went by and I was like, hang on a minute, like, I haven't seen this cyst in a while. And it's one of those things, like, it's there and it's not there, and it changes depending on the amount that you use your wrist. So, sometimes I just didn't have it for months at a time. Then sometimes I did have it for months at a time. And sometimes I'd go away for a day and then be back for another 3 months. And I was like, hang on a minute, I haven't seen it since then. And I was like, oh yeah, and prayed for me. Oh my gosh. And I went through all of my exams and I never had any problems with it. And I was healed, basically. So that's my story. That's my testimony. And the thing that I mainly want to emphasize to you guys is that personally, with that situation and my problem, what I struggled with was believing that I wasn't good enough and that my problems weren't worth complaining or praying for, that other people's problems took precedent, and that I was very lucky, and I am very lucky in the position that I'm in, and that's true, but that doesn't mean that me or you aren't worthy of God's love. He can heal someone's broken finger the same way that he can heal someone's cancer, and it's all the same to him because he loves all of his children equally. And I mean, it's the same for me, it's the same for the leaders at ID, and it's the same for all of you guys, all of your friends, all of your family. We believe in a God that loves every single one of us, no matter of our past or our sins or our wrongdoings. I'm not trying to stand here and say that I'm better than you, or that I have less problems and therefore God loves me more, because that's just absolutely not true. He loves you in the exact same way that he loves me. Whether my cyst is more important than your, dodgy ankle, it's all the same to God. He loves us the same amount, and these things matter so much to him. And he's not the kind of God that's going to prove himself when you sit in bed at night and say, well, God, if you're real, then blow my curtains open. Or when you put your Bible down and go, open to a random page and let it be exactly what I need to hear. He doesn't prove himself in those ways. He proves himself day to day when he does things like heal your wrist, or give you that thing that you really needed, or help you find £1 when you were £1 away from getting that thing that you want, and you don't even think about it most of the time, and you don't even realise it most of the time until you're thinking about it later, and you're like, oh, maybe that was a God thing. So that's an insight to the faith that I and the leaders at ID have, and what we believe, and we believe that for every single one of you as well. So that's my testimony. That's what it taught me. There's never anything too small, basically, and there's never anything too big for God. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And I've been rambling on for 14 minutes now, so I'll let you enjoy your dinner. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone, and I'm not sure who will be with you next week, but I hope you have a good one, and see you then. Bye.